Lord, and how one can get that knowledge of Lord, who can get, who cannot get, and what are the effects of knowing Lord. Like that, we discuss different things. The eighth chapter, it's divided into 6 sections. So first section, uh, Krishna speaks 2 verses at the end. So he uses different technical terms. So Arjuna asks questions on those technical terms and Krishna answers them. So that is the first section. And in that, the last question is about remember how one can know the Lord at the time of death. So that starts the discussion about how to remember Krishna at during life and at the time of death eventually. Then Krishna talks about Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Yoga Mishra Bhakti means there is yoga element in bhakti, not just the five, not just the uh, angas of hearing and chanting, but there is also some yogic elements. We will discuss it. Then pure devotional service. Pure devotional service only the hearing and chanting, 9 process of devotional service are only there. So Krishna describes them, and then he also talks about material and spiritual worlds. Then finally he tells how pure devotional service is superior to Yoga Mishra Bhakti in terms of attaining the Lord. So how it is more easy and to attain the Lord in through pure devotional service than through Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Yoga Mishra Bhakti, there are many rules. Dakshinaya and Uttaraya, and this time in this place, all that. But in pure devotional service, it is easy, more easy, relatively easy. Okay, so can someone volunteer to read today? Yashas Bro, can you also read? Possible to read or?
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Yes, Guruji.
Okay, okay. So you can recite after me. Arjuna Vacha Kim tad Brahma Kim Adhyatmam Kim Karma Purushottama
अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्म किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तमम्
Adibhutam cha Kim Proktam Adidevam Kim Uchyate.
आदिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदेवं किमुच्यते.
Here Arjuna is asking questions. Okay, the translation is Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. If you see, these are the last final verses of the seventh chapter. Jara Marana Mokshaya Mam Ashritya Yatantiye Te Brahma Tad Vitu Kritsnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakilam. So these two words are there, Brahma and Adhyatmam. These are there in the 7.29. Sa Adibhutam Adidaivam. So again, these two also Arjuna asked. Sa Adi Yajnam. Adi Yajnam also Arjuna asked. Then Prayana Kale. So this one. So these are the things which Arjuna is now asking in this. First verse he asked till Adi Adi Daivam. And in the second verse he will ask about Adi Yajnam and all. Okay, you can read.
In this chapter, Lord Krishna answered different questions from Arjun, beginning with what is Brahman. The Lord also explained karma, fruitive activities, devotional service, and yoga principle, and devotional service in its pure form. The Srimad Bhagavatam explained that the supreme absolute truth is known as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. In addition, The living entity, the individual soul, is also called Brahman. Arjun also inquires about Atma, which is referred to body, soul, and mind. According to Vedic dictionary, Atma referred to mind, soul, body, and sense also. Arjuna has addressed the Supreme Lord as Purushottam, Supreme Person, which means that he was putting this question not simply to a friend but to Supreme Person, knowing him to be the supreme authority able to give def- uh, definitive
Definitive.
answer.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not like Arjuna doesn't know the meanings of Brahma and these are like also like for a spiritual person these are common things. These are common terminologies which which is one is expected to acquainted with. But Arjuna is asking the question in this context, like uh, Brahma can also mean knowledge. Brahma can also refer to the Supreme Lord. Brahma can also refer to the Jivatma. So what exactly in these two verses Brahma is referring to? He is asking to Krishna only because Krishna only spoke these verses, so he can tell it right. And then Adi Bhuta, Adi Dhaiva, Adi Yajna, so all these things he's asking. We may have questions, but we also need to ask to the right person who can give us answers. Yeah, so that is also important. Like, yeah, context, like with context, meanings can change. If you somebody say the virus is spreading, it can generally relate to the a pathogen, a physical entity, of course, microscopic entity. There is a virus in the computer. This is again, but this is a software entity. The same word, but meanings vary in different contexts. So Sanskrit is all the more very diverse and very variegated. So Atma itself, like Prabhupada is saying, Atma refers to mind, soul, body, and senses. So like that, each one word can have different meanings. So we have to see in a particular context what meaning is being referred to. So that is what Arjuna wants to clarify from Krishna. Okay. Next, further questions. आदियज्ञ आदियज्ञकतं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन
अधियज्ञ कथम कोत्र देहेस्मिन मधुसूदन
प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः.
प्राणाय काले च कथम ज्ञेयो असि नियतात्मभिः.
Who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does he live in the body, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Of course, here who is constantly conscious of you. That can also be in some other process also, but Prabhupada is translated it as devotional service. Yes, Prabhupada, you can read purport.
Yeah. Lord of sacrifice may refer to either Indra or Vishnu. Vishnu is the chief of the primal demigods, including Brahma and Shiva, and Indra is the chief of the administrative demigods. Both Indra and Vishnu are worshipped by yagna performance, but here Arjun asks who is actually Lord of yagna, sacrifice, and how the Lord is residing within the body of living entity. Arjuna addresses the Lord as Madhusudan because Krishna once killed a demon named Madhu. Actually, these questions, uh, which are of nature of doubts, should not have arisen in the mind of Arjuna because Arjuna is Krishna conscious devotee. Therefore, these doubts are like demons. Since Krishna is so expert in killing demon, Arjuna here address him as Madhusudan so that Krishna might kill the demonic doubt that arise in Arjuna's mind. Now the word pranayakale in this
Prayana Kale.
prayanakale in this verse is very significant because whatever we do in life will be tested at the time of death. Arjuna is very anxious to know of those who are constantly engaged in Krishna conscious. What should be their position at their final moment? At the time of death, all the bodily function are disrupted and the mind is not proper condition. Thus, disturbed by the bodily situation, one may not be able to remember Supreme Lord. Maharaj Kulashekara, a great devotee, prays, "My dear Lord, just now I am quite healthy, and it is better that I die immediately so that the swan of my mind can seek entrance at the stream of your lotus feet." The the metaphor is used because the swan, a bird of water, take pleasure in digging into the lotus flower. It is sporting proclivity is to enter the lotus flower. Maharaj Kulshekar says to the Lord, "Now my mind is undisturbed and I am quite healthy. If I die immediately thinking of your lotus feet, when I am sure that my performance of your devotional service will become perfect. But if I have wait for my natural death, then I do not know what will happen, because at time of bodily function will be disrupted and my throat will be choked up, and I do not know whether I shall be able to chant your name. Better let me die immediately." Arjuna question how a person can fix his mind on Krishna's lotus feet at such time.
Yeah. Like somebody is conscious of Krishna throughout his life, but at the time of death, it becomes very difficult. Like Prabhupada is saying, the bodily functions are disrupted and mind is not in a proper condition. So it's difficult to remain conscious at the time of death. So then what will happen? So that is what Arjuna is asking Krishna. Because if you see the word, yeah, Niyatatmabhi. Niyatatmabhi means one who are constantly, yeah, by the self-control. So it refers not just to devotees, but others also, to yogis and others, gyanis also. Okay, now Krishna is answering the questions. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavo Adhyatmam Uchyate
Shri Bhagwan Vacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavo Adhyatma Uchyate
Bhuta Bhavodbhava Karo Visarga Karma Samnita.
Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro Visargah Sakarma Sangitah.
So, translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the Self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities. So, first question is, what is Brahma in that particular shloka? So, Brahma can refer to many things. It can refer to Bhagavan, it can refer to living entity, it can refer to knowledge. You see the Bhagavatam first shloka. There Brahma refers to Vedas and knowledge. But Krishna is saying Aksharam. So Akshara is Brahma. So Akshara is the living entity. Again, like our acharyas say that Akshara refers to the living entity, not the Bhagavan. Prabhupada also explains it further, how it is not Bhagavan, but it is the living entity. So then the second question is, what is Adhyatma? Adhyatma means what is that the governs the body. Now here in this word Adhyatma, Atma refers to body, not the living entity or senses or mind or something. Here refers to the body. So is it the group of senses or group of subtle elements? So what is the cause of the body? Cause of the body, or what directs the body? So that is Swabhava. Swabhava means the impressions held in the subtle elements, like which accompany the jiva birth after birth. Yeah, these impressions are closely related to the Atma. If you see, uh, yeah, so Brahmanas, they, yeah, desires determine actions. Yes. Yeah. So desires determine actions, and desires are part of Sabhava. Sabhava will have many other things, virtues, many other things also. So Brahmana desires knowledge. So then he does activities that increase his knowledge. Like he wants to study, he wants to teach, he wants to discuss. And Kshatriya, he wants power. So he wants to fight, he wants to influence people, he wants to control people. So further. So that is how Swabhava is the Adhyatma, is that which controls the body and which also causes body. Like uh, uh, our next life also dependent again on the Swabhava, etc. And what is karma? So karma is, does it refer to ordinary day-to-day actions or actions prescribed by the Vedas? So what it is? So what Krishna replied, Bhuta bhavodbhavo karo visarga karma samnita. So the transmigration of the jiva, the creation of bodies, bhava, through the material elements, bhuta, it is called karma because it is produced from actions. So this karma is referred to the transmigration of the body, transmigration of the jiva from one body to another body. That is karma. It is in this context of the verses. In general, yeah, karma has some other meanings. Okay, you can read the purport.
Yeah. Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. By beyond Brahman, there is a Parabrahman. Brahman refers to living entity, and Parabrahman refers to the supreme personality of Godhead. The constitutional position of living entity is different from position he takes in material world. In material consciousness, his nature is to try to be lord of matter, but in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various bodies in the material world. That is called karma and varied creation by the force of material consciousness. In Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman, but he is never called Parbrahman. The living entity, Jivatma, takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark matter nature and identify himself with matter. And sometimes he identify himself with the supreme spiritual nature. Therefore, he is called the Supreme Lord's marginal energy. According to his identification with material and spiritual nature, he receive a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of 8,40,000 species of life, but in spiritual nature, he has only one body. In material nature, he is manifested sometime as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc., according to his karma, to attain material heavenly planet and I enjoy their
Yeah.
his karma to attain material heavenly planet, enjoy their facilities. He sometimes performs sacrifice yagna, but when he married to exhausted, he returns to earth again in form of man. This process is called karma.
Okay,
The
just a minute.
chand
Yeah, just a minute. So in the first paragraph, Prabhupada discussed about the Brahman, Aksharam Brahma, how living entity is Brahman, and how living entity is not Parabrahman and all like that, Prabhupada told. In this paragraph, Prabhupada explained about the Swabhava. Though he has not specifically mentioned, so he told like the living entity's tendency, either he can take shelter of the material nature or spiritual nature. Accordingly, his body gets decided. So, it is. Now, Prabhupada is discussing the word karma. Karma here, in specifically in this context, Krishna has told is the transmigration of the soul from among different bodies. So that Prabhupada is describing. Yeah, can continue. The
yeah.
Chandogya Upanishad.
The Chandogya Upanishad describe the Vedic sacrificial process. On the sacrificial altar, five kinds of offering are made into five kinds of fire. The five kinds of fire are conceived of as a heavenly planet, cloud, the earth, man and woman. And the five kinds of sacrificial offering are faith, the enjoyer, on the moon, rain, grain, and the semen. In the process of sacrifice, the living entity may specific sacrifice to attain specific heavenly planet and consequently reaches them. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to earth in form of rain, then takes on the form of grain, and grain are eaten by men and transformed into semen, which impregnate a woman, and thus the living entity once again attain the human form to perform sacrifice, and so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity uh,
Perpetually.
perpetually comes and goes on the material path. The Krishna conscious person, however, avoids such sacrifice. He takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepare himself to return to Godhead.
Yeah. So
Impersonalist,
Prabhupada, just a
yeah.
minute. So Prabhupada explained about the karma, means how the living entity transmigrates. So he performs different sacrifices. If you remember in the fourth chapter, sacrifice is not just uh, the fire sacrifice. It is the principle of offering to the Lord. So that's what is discussed here. The five kinds of offerings and the five kinds of fire. Heavenly planets, clouds, earth, man, woman. And offerings are faith and semen, etc. All this. Faith correspondingly the offerings. And then Prabhupada described about how the living entity goes to heavenly planets and again comes back to earth. But this is only in principle for like falling in the rain, falling through rain and then entering the grain and going to the semen. So that is mainly for those living entities which are coming from the heavenly planets. But there may be other living entities who may take human form of life. They may also be previously humans, and some may be coming from lower species. So for that, they will have different processes. This is not like for every case. Now Prabhupada is refuting some misconceptions. Yes, you can continue.
Im- Impersonalist commentator on the Bhagavad Gita unreasonably assume that Brahman takes the form of Jeev in material world, and to sustain this they refer the chapter 15 verse 7 of Gita. But in this verse the Lord also speaks the living entity as the eternal fragment fragment of myself. The fragment of God, the living entity, may fall down into the material world, but the Supreme Lord, Achyuta, never fall down. Therefore, this assumption that Supreme Brahman assumed the form of Jiva is not acceptable. It is important to remember that in Vedic literature, Brahman, the living entity, is distinguished from Parabrahma, the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, we saw how the like the Mayavadis, how the Advaitavadis, like for them, like Brahman, when it comes into the mode of passion, then jivas are formed and all. And we saw, like, while discussing Ushopnishad, how that's a fallacy. You know. Like, then Brahman is coming under influence of Maya, so that is a problem with it. Yeah, Prabhupada is again reiterating it in some way. Okay, so now Krishna is answering the questions further. The next verse. आदिभूतं शरो भाव पुरुषश्चादिदैवतम्
अधिभूतं शरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम्
आदियज्ञो अहम् एवत्र देह देह देहभृताम्बर.
अधियज्ञहम एवत्र देहे देहभृतांवर.
O best of the embodied beings. Okay. Arjuna is being addressed as O best of the embodied beings. The physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adi Bhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods like those of the sun and moon, is called Adi Deva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the Super Soul in the heart of every embodied living being, I am called Adi Yajna, the Lord of Sacrifice. Okay, so fourth question. In previous verse, we saw three questions. In this fourth question, what is Adi Bhuta? Adi Bhuta literally means that which rules Adi Kritya of the living entity. So, so which what element can influence the living entity when it is in the body? So the answer is Shara. Shara is the body itself. The body itself can influence the living entity. So Bhuta here means referring to the living entity. Adi Bhuta. So Adi Bhuta means which influences the living entity. So earlier we saw the Swabhava of the living entity directs the body, but the body itself, because the living entity identifies with the body, the living entity wants to enjoy the body, enjoy through the body. So then, in that way, the body is influencing the living entity because the living entity is developing the desire to enjoy through the body. So in that way, it's gross body. Then who is Adi Daiva? Daiva refers to demigods. Who is Adi Daiva? Who is the chief of the demigods or existent source of demigods also you can refer. So Krishna answers Purusha is referring to Virata Purusha. So the bodily form of the aggregate of matter, the universal form. This we will discuss in the 11th chapter and in Bhagavatam also you will come to know in second canto. Then who is Adi Yajna? Who is Adi Yajna means who is the controller of the predominating deity of the sacrifices. Ahameva. Krishna is saying Ahameva, I myself. Eva means only me, not no one else. So Krishna resides as the regulator within the because Krishna resides as the super soul within all living entities. This also we will discuss more detail in the 13th chapter. And he inspires the living entities to perform sacrifice. Let's say even if demigods are all there, but if the living entities are not inspired to perform sacrifice, then no sacrifice will happen. So that inspiration comes from Krishna. So that's why he is Adi Yajna. Because in 7th chapter we saw this shloka. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhaya architam ichchati tasya achalam shraddham tameva vidamyaham. Aham vidami means that shraddha is created by me. Krishna is saying. We studied it in the 7th chapter. Yes. So these three questions Krishna is answering in this verse. Yes, you can read the purport.
The physical nature is constantly changing. Material bodies generally pass through six stages. They are birth, they grow, they remain for some duration, they produce some byproduct, they dwindle, and then they vanish. This physical nature is called
Adhibhuta.
Adhibhuta. Adhibhuta. It is created at certain point and will be annihilated at a certain point. The conception of universal form of Supreme Lord, which include all the demigod and their different planet, is called Adhidevat. And the present
Yeah. And present in the body
and
along.
present in the body along with the individual soul is the super soul. A plenary representation of Lord Krishna, the super soul is called Paramatma or Adhiyagya and is situated in the heart. The word Eva is particularly important in the context of verse because by the word the Lord stressed that the Paramatma is not different from him. The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, seated beside the individual soul, is the witness of all individual souls' activities and is the source of soul various type of consciousness. The super soul gives the individual soul an opportunity to act freely and witness his activities. The function of all these different manifestations of Supreme Lord automatically become clarified for the pure Krishna conscious devotee engaged in transcendental service of Lord. The gigantic universal form of Lord called Adhidevat. It's contemplated by the neophyte who cannot approach the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as Super Soul. The neophyte is advised to contemplate the universal form or Virat Purush. Those whose legs are considered the lower planet, whose eyes are considered the sun and moon, and whose head is considered the upper planetary system.
Yeah. So, because no, the neophyte is attached to material things, so it will be easy for him to conceive of the Lord through material entities. Like, if no the universal form, his uh, thighs are the mountains, like that, then he can easily relate. But if you say Lord is like a young boy, he's a Sachidananda and all, then he cannot, suddenly he may not, identify with it. So that's why initially they are told to meditate on the Virata Purusha. Mm. Yeah, so Prabhupada also explained each terminology in different ways. Okay. Now Krishna is answering the last question. Like how a constantly engaged transcendentalist can be conscious of the Lord at the time of death. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram
अंतकाले च मामेवा स्मरन् मुक्ता कलेवरम्
yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshaya.
यत्प्रयान्ति समद्भावं यान्ति नास्तत्र संशयः.
And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. Okay, so the actual question is, how are you to be known at the point of death by those with concentrated minds? So the answer is through remembrance, through smaran. So no is not like okay. If somebody asks, "Do you know this person?" Yeah, I know him. Yes, so it is may it in general usage. It means do you have any information about him, or do you recognize him? Something like that. But to know also can mean be conscious of. So if a person is practicing God consciousness throughout his life, but at the time of death, when when all these things are not functioning properly, body is not functioning properly, through remembrance one can. So how that remembrance will be obtained and all that will be discussed in this due course, all this throughout the chapter. So Krishna is saying he can remember me, and through that he can be conscious of me. Okay, yeah, you can read the purport.
In this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna conscious is at once transferred to the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the purest of the pure. Therefore, anyone who is constantly Krishna conscious is also purest of pure. The word Smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. Therefore, one should practice Krishna conscious from the very beginning of life. If one want to achieve success at end of his life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly increase instant
Incessantly, incessantly.
incessantly chant the Mahamantra Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Lord Chaitanya has advised that one be as tolerant as tree, Tarorapi
Tarorapi Sahishna.
Sahishnuna. There may be so many uh,
Impediment.
impediments for a person who is chanting Hare Krishna. Nonetheless, tolerating all these impediments, one should continue the chant to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare Ram,
Ram
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 Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
so that at the end of life, one can have the full benefit of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhupada, of course, is giving a devotional import of it, though specifically in the context, it is not exactly directing to devotion. Okay, so here the word eva is important, no? If one is remembering Krishna alone, Krishna or the absolute truth alone, then one can attain the absolute truth. It's not just remembering, but only remembering the absolute truth. Okay. So, like remembrance can be in different moods, with different moods. Like a cute baby is there. So a passerby or neighbor may remember with appreciation. Oh, the baby is very cute, very very soft, very lovely, and all. Generally, now babies are very attractive. They look very innocent and all. Suppose, let's say the baby has a stepmother or a relative who is very envious of of the parents or something. They may remember that baby with envy. He should he should die. Like we see in the example of Chitraketu. They may remember him, but like even Krishna also, like Kamsa is remembering Krishna, baby Krishna, but with envy. The mother of that baby, she may remember with a mood of service. So in the same way, one may be conscious of the absolute truth, but at the time of death, but maybe with different moods. So we will see. Like Gyanis, they will be conscious of the absolute truth, but mainly as Brahman, and their desire will be mostly for liberation. Yogis, they may be conscious of the absolute truth as Paramatma, and they may desire for Vaikuntha liberation or Shantaras. These things we have discussed in the previous chapter. The different types in Vaikuntha, what are the liberation, and Brahman, Sayujas, all this, and the difference and with their difference with rasas. Yogis, they may also aspire for Shantaras. Bhaktas, they they will want to be conscious of absolute truth as Krishna or Vishnu Tattvas, Ram, Narayan, or whatever, and they desire to serve the Lord in five rasas, of course, more in from Dasaras, not so much also in Shantaras. Okay, so you can think of some examples. You can take around 3 minutes and think of some examples from Shastra who remembered Lord at the time of death and attained his abode. Hmm. Okay, and how they remember the Lord also you can uh, also think. You can take 3 minutes, then we will discuss. Okay. Yes,
Can I answer,
Yashaj, bro.
Prabhuji?
Uh, yes, bro. We can. Yeah. Yes, you can tell. Yes, bro. Why can't you be Hari, bro? You can tell.
Bhishma Pitama.
Okay. Okay. Yes. 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 Good. 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 Okay.
Thank you.
And yes, Yashaj, bro. We can tell.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvatma. Actually, Prabhuji, I have three examples. So one is the Prabhuji already told,
Mm,
the Bhishma Pitama from Mahabharata, and the
mm,
first one is from Ram Leela, that is
mm,
Dashrath Maharaj. He is
mm,
remembering at the time of death, about Lord Ram.
mm,
And one more example is there, but I'm not taking his name. I have another example. So
mm,
in from Gaur Leela,
mm,
so the Swarup Damodar, when he's hear about the Lord Chaitanya is merged into the Jagannath, so
mm,
he got heart failed, and
mm.
at the time I think his body is vanished in the air, something like that. There is some kind of leela is there.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Any other?
Can I answer
Yes, sure.
one more, Prabhuji?
Yeah, we'll take from others and at last you can. Yes, Sharad Pro.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Even Ajamila Prabhuji, so he accidentally called out for the name of
Yeah.
his son, but in one way he remembered. And other example is of Gajendra, uh,
Yeah.
who was almost at the time of death when he
Mm,
remembered Lord Narayan.
yeah. Yeah. Ajamil, he doesn't attain the Lord, but he's given a second chance. And yeah,
Yes.
finally again he remembers the Lord.
Hmm.
That is that description is there. Okay. What's some more? Yes, Amrita Mataji.
Prabhu Haridas Thakur and
Yes.
Kanak
Yeah.
Das from Sri Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, Haridas Thakur, it's vividly described how he decided to remember the Lord and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and keeps his feet on his heart and focuses on his face and yeah, that is very vividly described. Okay. Yes, Vaikuntha Bihari Pro, you have some other example?
Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, okay, yeah. Yes, yes. It's described how Prabhupada was chanting and yes, Ishaya Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Tukaram
Sorry, your voice is breaking. I think
Prabhu
somebody is
Tukaram
breaking.
Maharaj.
Okay, okay. Yes, yes. That is also very vividly described. Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, Parikshit Maharaj is there, but I don't understand which bhava he remembered. Bhakti bhava only will come. No?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah,
Devotee, I mean, Dasya.
yeah. Okay, okay. Yes, yes. Thank you. Okay. Yes, Raj, bro. You have some other?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have one more example.
Mm,
Actually, I heard in lecture the
mm.
Vritrasura at the time of his death, he is remembering about the Lord.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, that is there in Bhagavatam. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. 1%. Yes. Okay. Now Krishna describes a general principle in the next verse. It's a more generic. Yam yam vape smaram bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajyanta kalevaram
tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita.
tam tam eveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah.
What a state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Yes, bro, you can read purport.
Yeah. The process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. A person who, at the end of his life, quits his body thinking of Krishna, attain the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. But it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental state. This is the point we should note very carefully. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat, although a great personality, thought of a deer at end of his life, and so in his next life he was transferred into the body of a deer. Although, as a deer, he remembered his past activities, he had to accept that animal body. Of course, one's thought during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thought at the moment of death. So he is. So
So
this
this
life
life,
creates. So this life create one's next life. If one if one's present one's life lives in the mode of goodness and always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one's to remember Krishna at time of one's life. That will help one be transferred to the transcendental nature of Krishna. If one is transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next life will be transcendental, spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life.
yeah. So, of course, Prabhupada is telling what Krishna is going to tell in the next verses. That is there on us. Krishna will explain these things, how uh, the one's thoughts during the course of one's lives accumulate to influence one's thoughts at the moment of death. So this thing only Krishna is going to elaborate in the future verses. It is not, yeah, that's what. This is a general principle, and Prabhupada is giving the example of Bharat Maharaj. Okay, Yashras, we have some question.
Yes, Prabhuji. Actually, Prabhuji, I heard in the story of Sripad Ramanujacharya. So, when Ramanujacharya asked to Lord Varadraj if so because of some situation and by the course of some material disease or something, at the time of death, if devotee cannot remember of him, so the Lord replied, if he is my true devotee and he will perform all life the devotional service, that at the time of death I'll remember him and I'll make such a condition so he can remember about me and he will attain back to Godhead.
Yeah, so that verse is going to come. I mean, not exactly, but that principle is going to come future. See, if you see these all verses, it's not referring to the devotional context. There is no antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram. So this is the question itself is those who are constantly being conscious of the Lord. So it's not only devotees are constantly conscious of the Lord, even the Gyanis, and we saw in the previous chapters, Karma Yoga, you see the 5th chapter and all, they are also constantly conscious of the Lord. But the mood may be different, like just now we have discussed. So that is the question which Arjuna asked, and Krishna replied this thing. Okay. So it's not specifically for devotees. Yes, so that principle will come, and yes, that verse is there in Kurma Puran. That time we will discuss that. It's spoken by Varahadeva, I think. It's in Kurma Puran. I know that I'll get that reference. So yes. So that incident is there in life of Ramanujacharya. Okay. So now this is the general principle, and this is elaborated in the 14th chapter. So this 14th chapter you will study, but how this principle works, like the verse Urdhvam gachanti sattvasta madhye tishtati rajasa jagannagana buddhista adho gacchati tamasa. Those situated in the mode of goodness go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. So those who are in the mode of ignorance, primarily in the mode of ignorance, I mean throughout their life, they only go to hellish planets or lower species of life. Those who are like, if they are primarily in mode of passion, earning money or no, want to enjoy opposite sex and all, that is they may be born again among humans. Somebody is no always sleeping and no drinking and all. That is mode of ignorance. They may go to lower planets. So that is what this verse. More you will discuss
Sorry.
in the 14th chapter. Okay. Okay, now what will happen to a practicing devotee? A practicing devotee may not come to the level of remembering only Krishna. So remembering only Krishna is different than remembering Krishna. And along with remembering Krishna, he may remember something else also. So then what happens? So as we discussed earlier, so again, death is not like a binary exam, 0 or 1. That is what in like Christianity. So if you perfect your life, you will go back to Christ, or you will go back to animal species, something like that. You're eternally condemned. But Sanatana Dharma means it's not exactly like that. It's not a devotee. If he fails to remember only Krishna and he may remember something, it's not like a failure, like we discussed in the 6th chapter. So the same, like these two things, the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So this is one thing. Or if one is very advanced, so, or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Yeah. So it's not like if one fails to remember only Krishna, then that is not a problem. It happens. But one should endeavor to do that, and how that endeavor should happen, that Krishna will discuss in the next verses. Yeah, we will hear the story. It's a true life story, and it's a well accepted story in ISKCON. So we will hear that story.
कृष्ण, आप सभी का स्वागत है फिलोसॉफिकल सीरीज में। मैं हूं सूर्य चैतन्य चंद्र। आज तो एक सत्य घटना, ट्रू स्टोरी जो हुई थी। तो एक व्यक्ति था, उसका नाम था डेविड। उसका जन्म हुआ था इंग्लैंड में, ग्लासगो एक शहर था, उसमें उसका जन्म हुआ था 1954 में। तो ऐसा है, छोटा जो डेविड बड़ा जब हो गया, जब 13 साल का था, तो उसने देखा अपने जो पिताजी, उन्होंने सुसाइड कर लिया। जो फैन को रस्सी बांध के उन्होंने सुसाइड कर लिया, 13 साल का बच्चा। तो उसके दिमाग पे इतना असर हो गया, बाद में वो सोचने लगा कि व्हाट इज लाइफ, व्हाट इज डेथ, ये प्रश्न उसके मन में आए। और ढूंढते ढूंढते फिर बाद में वो हरे कृष्णा भक्तों से मिला, और जब 17 साल का था तो उन्होंने इस्कॉन इंग्लैंड उधर का जो मंदिर है उसमें ज्वाइन कर लिया, 17 साल का बच्चा। तो ये जो डेविड था बहुत ही एंथुसियास्टिक ऐसे डिवोटी थे, और 17 साल का ये बच्चा ही था। तो बाद में वो एक त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु थे, त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु इंग्लैंड के टेंपल में। तो वो हर रोज हरिनाम संकीर्तन के लिए जाते थे। तो ये जो डेविड था उनके साथ जाता था, मृदंग बजाता था, करताल बजाता था, बहुत एंथुसियास्टिकली डांस करता था हरिनाम संकीर्तन में, ये त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु के साथ। तो ऐसे हर रोज वो जाते थे, बाहर संकीर्तन करते थे, बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करते थे, और इनको बड़ा रिजल्ट आता था। तो फिर कुछ दिनों के बाद शिल प्रभुपाद उस मंदिर में आए, इस्कॉन के इंग्लैंड में, और फिर शिल प्रभुपाद ने इनिशिएशन का सेरेमनी रखा और बहुत सारे भक्तों को इनिशिएशन दिया, और उसमें इस डेविड को भी इनिशिएशन दिया जो कि 17 साल का ही था। और जब डेविड को इनिशिएशन मिला तो फिर बाद में उसका नाम हो गया राघव दास ब्रह्मचारी। तो ऐसे राघव दास ब्रह्मचारी को इनिशिएशन मिला श्रील प्रभुपाद से। लेकिन बाद में कुछ समय के बाद हुआ ऐसे कि जब ये डेविड, जो कि अभी राघव दास ब्रह्मचारी है, वो और एक भक्त थे कृष्णदास ब्रह्मचारी। तो ऐसे दोनों जो थे वो जा रहे थे एक वैन में। तो ये जो डेविड या राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी पीछे बैठे थे और कृष्णदास वो ड्राइविंग कर रहे थे। तो ऐसे ड्राइविंग करते करते शाम के समय में वो जो ड्राइविंग कर रहे थे सुनसान रास्ते पे, तो जब उनका गाड़ी जा रहा था तो ये जो ड्राइवर थे कृष्णदास ब्रह्मचारी वो चलाते चलाते सो गए। और गाड़ी इतना स्पीड में था और वो चलाते चलाते जब सो गए तो गाड़ी टर्न ले लिया, रास्ते के बाहर चला गया और एक बड़े पेड़ को गाड़ी ने धड़क दे दिया। तो उसके अंदर जो ये राघव दास ब्रह्मचारी था उसकी तुरंत ऑन द स्पॉट मौत हो गई, जिसका इनिशिएशन कुछ समय पहले ही हुआ था। तो ये था 1954 में जन्म हुआ था और 1973 में उनका मौत हो गया, डेथ हो गया इनिशिएशन के कुछ समय के बाद ही। तो ये जो कृष्णदास ब्रह्मचारी सोचते थे माय गॉड मेरे वजह से ये जो ब्रह्मचारी है इसका डेथ हो गया, मर गया, वो बहुत अपने आप को गिल्टी फील कर रहे थे। तो बाद में श्रील प्रभुपाद ने लेटर लिखा कि नो प्रॉब्लम, अभी ये हो गया है तो आप राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी के लिए सभी प्रार्थना करेंगे, उनके लिए एक मीटिंग रखेंगे और बड़ा ब्राह्मण भोजन अरेंज करेंगे। तो ये सब हुआ। लेकिन फिर 1975 में एक बालिका का जन्म होता है और वो एक हिंदू परिवार से है, इंग्लैंड में ही। और वो जो बालिका है धीरे धीरे बड़े होती है और बाद में वो भक्ति में आती है, भक्ति से कनेक्ट हो जाती है, श्रील प्रभुपाद की किताबें पढ़ती है। तो फिर बाद में उसको लगता है कि उसको बार बार ये सपने आते हैं कि मैं एक गाड़ी में जा रही हूँ और गाड़ी का एक्सीडेंट हो गया, गाड़ी का एक्सीडेंट हो गया क्योंकि ड्राइवर सो गया। तो ऐसे उसको बार बार सपने आते। तो फिर बाद में वो भक्ति में आती है और फिर भक्ति चारू स्वामी महाराज से वो दीक्षा लेती है और उसका नाम बन जाता है रत्नावली। तो ये रत्नावली अपने स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर भक्ति चारू महाराज को बोलते हैं कि मुझे ऐसे बार बार सपने आते हैं कि मैं पिछले जन्म में कोई तो ब्रह्मचारी था और मेरा एक्सीडेंट हो गया, तो ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है। तो भक्ति चारू महाराज ने बोला कि आप क्या करो, ये हिप्नोटिज्म पास्ट लाइफ रिग्रेशन होता है, जिसमें व्यक्ति को सुला के उसके पिछला जन्म जो है उसका वो इंट्रोगेशन करते। तो ऐसे कुछ लोग होते हैं, डॉक्टर्स होते हैं। तो उन्होंने जब रत्नावली ने ऐसे किया तो डॉक्टर्स ने बताया कि यस यू वेर ब्रह्मचारी इन पास्ट लाइफ। तो वो एक्चुअली में ब्रह्मचारी थी और उसको बार बार सपने आते थे कि मैं त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु के साथ हरिनाम के लिए जा रहा हूँ और मृदंग बजा रहा हूँ, करताल बजा रहा हूँ और उनके साथ डांस कर रहा हूँ। तो ये त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु से बहुत जल्दी कनेक्ट होती थी। ये अभी स्त्री के शरीर में, लेकिन त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु के साथ वो भी हरिनाम के लिए जाती थी। और फिर जो इंग्लैंड का मंदिर है उनके डीटीज को देख के उसको याद आता था कि मैंने इनको पहले कहीं तो देखा है। तो ऐसे सपने बार बार आते थे और ये पास्ट लाइफ रिग्रेशन से भी पता चल गया कि ये जो रत्नावली थी ये पिछले जन्म में राघव दास ब्रह्मचारी जो कि एक्सीडेंट में मारा गया था, उसी ने फिर से 1973 में उसकी मौत हो गई थी। 1975 में इसने जन्म लिया था इंग्लैंड में और ये जो लड़की थी उसको बार बार रत्नावली उसको बार बार वही सपने आते थे। तो फिर बाद में उसने सोचा थोड़ा रिसर्च करते हैं और राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी के बारे में रिसर्च किया और उसको पूरा पता चल गया कि ये राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी हमेशा त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु के साथ हरिनाम संकीर्तन के लिए जाता था और उसको भी अभी उस स्त्री के शरीर में उसको भी त्रिभुवनाथ प्रभु के जाने के साथ उनके साथ जाने के लिए बहुत अच्छा लगता था और हरिनाम के लिए जाते और वो डिटेल्स भी याद थे उसको और वो जो स्पॉट है वो भी याद था, एक्सीडेंट कैसे हो गया। और फिर बाद में ये जो बर्थ मार्क्स होते हैं, पोस्टमार्टम रिपोर्ट उसने वो रत्नावली ने निकाला राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी का, उसमें उसके पेट को बहुत सारे इंजुरीज हुए थे और उसके कारण उसको डेथ हुआ था। तो इस जन्म में जो रत्नावली थी उसको भी पेट के आजू बाजू में कुछ मार्क्स थे जो कि इंजुरी के मार्क्स थे। तो ये जो डेथ हुई थी पिछले जन्म में उसके मार्क्स इस जन्म में रत्नावली के पेट पे था और रत्नावली के पेट का बहुत सारा प्रॉब्लम था। और एक प्रूफ था तो रत्नावली ने भक्ति चारू महाराज उनको बोले कि देखो अब तो पहले ब्रह्मचारी थे अभी स्त्री बन गए तो सोचो क्या हुआ रहेगा, आखिरी समय में आपने किसी स्त्री को सोचा रहेगा इसलिए स्त्री का जन्म मिला तो सर्च करो। तो फिर रत्नावली सोचती है कि राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी के बाकी के जो फ्रेंड्स रहते हैं उनको पूछती है कि ये किसी स्त्री से आसक्त था क्या। तो एक व्यक्ति बोलता है, एक जो डिवोटी था वो बोलता है हाँ वो मुझे बोलता था एक सत्यवती करके एक लड़की थी वो आती थी डीटी किचन में बनाने के लिए भोगा भगवान के लिए, उससे थोड़ा सा आसक्त था। तो ये रत्नावली तुरंत उसका एड्रेस ढूंढती है सत्यवती कहाँ है और सत्यवती को मिलने को जाती है। तो ये सत्यवती के घर पे जाती है तो रत्नावली जो है आश्चर्यचकित हो जाती है कि ये जो सत्यवती का चेहरा और रत्नावली का चेहरा हूबेहूब सेम डिक्टो चेहरा है। उसका चेहरा जो था सत्यवती का, वैसे ही रत्नावली को चेहरा मिला, क्योंकि जो राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी था वो इस स्त्री से आसक्त था। तो उसने पूछा भी, रत्नावली ने सत्यवती से कि ऐसा राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी आपके साथ कुछ, तो बोलने लगी हाँ एक था ऐसे, वो देखता था मेरे तरफ ऐसे, लेकिन हमारा बातचीत नहीं होता था, लेकिन वो देखता था कभी कभी। तो इससे रत्नावली को कंफर्म हो गया कि वही राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी था पहले, और अभी वो रत्नावली बन गई, क्योंकि वो आसक्त था किससे, इस स्त्री से, सत्यवती से। और रत्नावली और सत्यवती का दोनों का चेहरा एकदम मैच होता था। तो बाद में उसको पता चला कि कितनी बड़ी गलती की, जैसे जड़ भरत जो था उसने हिरण के बारे में सोचा और फिर हिरण का जन्म मिला, तो वैसे यम यम वापी स्मरण भावम तजंते अंते कलेवरम तम तम एवति कोन्ते सदा तद भाव भाविता। तो जो हम याद करते अंत समय में, वैसा ही शरीर मिलता है, अगला जन्म मिलता है। तो इस राघवदास ब्रह्मचारी को ये रत्नावली का शरीर मिला, क्योंकि आखिरी समय में उन्होंने एक स्त्री का स्मरण किया। तो देखो, हमने किसका स्मरण करना चाहिए आखिरी समय में? भगवान श्री कृष्ण का। तो हम भगवान के धाम जाएंगे। अगर स्त्री का या किसी का भी स्मरण करेंगे इस भौतिक जगत का, तो हमें फिर से जन्म लेना पड़ेगा। ये हम सीखते, ये ट्रू स्टोरी है। और डिस्क्रिप्शन में हमने लिंक भी दिया इस स्टोरी का, इस आर्टिकल का। तो आप जरूर ये आर्टिकल पढ़िए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हरे
Yeah. So of course, definitely that lesson we should draw, that if we remember something else, we go somewhere. But another thing is, if someone has practiced Krishna consciousness, he will remember to some extent Krishna also at the time of death. So that's why again, when Brahmachari is born again as a devotee only. Of course, that both elements exist. So this principle also works for a practicing devotee, and the principle which is given in the 6th chapter, that also works. Okay, now Krishna describes how to get that remembrance. Like, so for that, the homework has to be done throughout life. Then only it comes. Okay. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha.
तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मर युधस्य च।
Yudhya cha. Okay. Mayyarpita mano buddhir mame veshyasi asamshaya.
मय्यार्पितमनो बुद्धिर्माम् एवस्य असंशयः।
Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Yes, read the purport.
This instruction to Arjun is very important for all men engaged in material activities. The Lord does not say that one should give up all his prescribed duties or engagement. One can continue them at the same time, think of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. This will free one from material contamination and engage the mind and intelligence in Krishna. By chanting Krishna's name, one will be transferred to the supreme planet, Krishna Lok, without a doubt.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we will discuss this. So you can think of, you can take around 7 minutes and think about this. What are things other than Krishna which a practicing devotee may remember at time of death? So this is, you can think, means other than Krishna, what all one may remember. One example we saw in that video, but other things. What can be done to minimize or avoid that remembrance? Then how to increase our remembrance of Krishna at the time of death. Now again, remembrance of Krishna, again, it's not a 0-1 thing. It is a degree, 0 to 100%. So how we can improve that? So you can think of these things. Of course, further verses also will answer these questions. Okay, you can take around 7 minutes, then we'll discuss. Okay, first
Can I answer,
question.
Prabhuji?
Just a minute. We'll see if somebody else. Okay, anyone others? Okay, Yashras Prabhu, you can answer. First question.
Hare Krishna.
Mm.
So, Prabhuji, I have two answers. One is the positive, second one is a negative. So, the positive answer is a devotee may, at the time of that, he can remember about the Srila Prabhupada and his Guru Maharaj. Because I heard one story, there is one Maharaj, I think he's a Bhakti Tirth Maharaj. At the time of death, he remembering about the Srila Prabhupada, maybe. I don't know, I'm forgot which Maharaj it was. So some devotee told the Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, so what will his deliverance? So the His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj said, oh, he definitely goes to the back to Godhead because he, at the time of that he was remembering the Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, fine.
And yeah, the second example is commonly we seen that for the parent, if we are getting old, so generally the mother father think about their childs at the time of death, as Ajamil think about, because I see in my personal life also. So our grandparent always meditate upon their grandson.
Grandson. Okay. Yeah, it is possible also for a practicing devotee. Yes. Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Why couldn't be Hari Prabhu? Want to answer?
First one, the opposite sex person we can think of. Like wife can
Okay.
think of husband, husband can think
Yeah,
of wife.
yeah. It can be more. You can tell spouse. Yeah, fine. No problem. That's okay. Yeah.
Yes. And the second one can think of like generally people are attached with the sun, basically. They can think
Okay.
of sun,
Mm.
then home, then
Okay,
money.
fine. I think enough. We'll take from others. Good points. Thank you. Yes, Sundari
Thank you.
Subhadra Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, normal things so everybody has told. One which I have heard that at the time of death, a person comes to know about all the deeds that he has done throughout the life. So sometimes, even though he is practicing devotee, but there may be an event where he remembers someone with an attitude of revenge. So enmity, I think, is something that might come at the time of death, negative. And other is maybe at that particular time, if the person is in pain or we don't know how death is impacting them. So maybe at that particular time, he may think of mukti also. Like
Yeah,
I
correct.
want mukti.
Yeah,
So that
possible.
also
Yes,
can
yes.
be the
Possible.
stage.
Yes. Very, very nice points. Thank you. Okay, let's see someone else. Okay, Yashraj, Priya, something else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Actually, I have some funny examples because some people are attached with the dogs and their cat and cats. So I
Yeah,
thought
of course,
at
we are
that time,
talking more about devotee. Of course, it can happen even with a devotee. No, not a.
no, Prabhuji. In the case of devotee, actually, the some devotees are attached with the cows.
Okay. No, it's, I mean, not surprised. There are foreign where devotees also have some pets, not a something. Okay, fine, not a problem. Okay. Okay, now,
I
uh,
can share something more, Prabhuji.
yeah, I mean, tell the principle, not examples or something. Yes, you can share.
Uh, to the person, place, or the things which they are attached. Generally, they think of that relationship.
Yes. Yeah,
Like
actually,
basically,
yes, please tell.
sorry, Prabhuji. Generally, everybody is attached with the body. Many times, attachment with the body is such attachment that everybody remembers that bodily part, that pain, that suffering.
Yes. Yeah. That's what Mataji told. One may desire liberation because they're going through a lot of pain. Yeah, correct.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Okay. Now, second question. What we can do to minimize or avoid that remembrance? Means that remembrance which are other than Krishna. So what things we can do? Yes, Sundari Subhadra Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. So first and foremost, because the point that came to my mind was revenge and mukti. So what I feel is the foremost practice of a devotee must be forgiveness. and tolerance, because if he is practicing it throughout the life, then there are more chances that he will not have these kind of negative thoughts, and there will be more probability of remembering Krishna. Then second is minimalistic lifestyle, because mostly we get attached to the things around us, the people around us. So minimalistic lifestyle will leads us to be not attached to the things, and detachment, performing the
Okay. Yes,
duty.
yes, yes. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
Very nice, very
detachment will
nice.
keep
Yes,
us
yes.
not being attached to the
Yeah,
relations.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Forgiveness is a very important thing.
Yes,
But of course, it's not always easy to forgive everything what we encounter to
no,
love.
that is,
So
yes, we
yeah,
have
so
to practice it.
we need that power to we need to pray to Krishna to
Yes,
ability to forgive and forget.
that is
Forgiving
actually
is easy,
first
but
point,
forgetting is
Prabhuji,
more
that we
difficult.
have to depend on Krishna.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
that was my
yeah,
first point.
yeah, yeah. I'm
For
saying like yeah,
yeah,
that is an
for
important
everything
thing.
we have to depend first on Krishna.
That is there, but we should also endeavor.
Yes,
That is
yes.
also a way of depending on Krishna. But yeah, like Mahatma Prabhu speaks a lot on forgiveness. Okay, anyone
Can I answer,
else?
Prabhuji?
Yeah, you can answer.
To minimize the other remembrance, we should always hear the Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan, and which will give us more interest in our chanting. Our chanting will be better attentively,
Yeah.
and then more chanting rounds, and that will lead you to more smaranam.
Yes, yes, yes. Good, good, good. Thank you. Yeah, that we'll
Thank you
discuss
so much.
more
Prabhu.
also.
Thank you so much.
Third
Prabhu.
question. Yes, Yashas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So as Prabhuji told, we have to read the Shastras, and if we are very courageous and we are very strong-hearted, so we can hear some strong lectures also, which is like I heard the Gunakesh Prabhu's lecture, and he's uh, clearly cut the all the bondage of the material existence and the relations. And one more thing, actually, the attachment is not easy to avoid, because I feel that because we are attached, but we can think that it's a very practical way. We can think that the all whatever relative we have, it's all given by the Krishna to perform as a bodily duties.
Yeah.
So if we are thinking like that, okay, so this is not my wife, this is the child, so I have to make them devotees, and this is the duty by the given by the Krishna. So I heard in a lecture of His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, so he said our principle is not to detach, our process is to engage everything to the Krishna.
Yes,
So
yes,
if
yes.
so, I think engagement of Krishna is the best way to avoid
Yeah.
the
Thank you.
materialistic things.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, correct. Okay. So third one, any other point somebody wants to say? How to increase our remembrance of Krishna at time of death? Already. Okay, Sundari Subhadra Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. So all the points that Prabhuji told in second, I have written it for third. Like for
Yes, yes.
remembrance, we have to do our sadhana promptly. Then we have to do more and more hearing. The foremost thing is chanting attentively, because the only way is Krishna's mercy, through which we can eradicate our imprints which are making us think of other things. So chanting is the only way, and for that chanting to come offenseless and pure, we don't have that eligibility. So the only thing that we can do wholeheartedly is that we can serve our guru, or we can follow the instructions of our guru, because maybe we are not eligible, but by the mercy of guru we can easily remember Krishna at the
Yes,
time of
yes,
death.
yes. Very nice. Thank you. Okay. Any other point? Yashas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So Prabhuji, as the Kulshekhar Alwal told that, because at the time of that there is a lots of circumstances. So maybe because of the bodily pain, we cannot remember the Krishna. But I have two answer. First is correlate with the Mataji. So actually, the thing is that if we are working selflessly and we chant humbly in the humble mood, so because whatever we did, actually in the martial art we call that reflex. So whatever we practice in our whole life, so at the time of emergency, the reflex will come out.
Yes, yes.
So So if we are whole life, in our whole life we practice selflessly, if we are chanting selflessly, with the humble nature, and we do the service selflessly without any alter motives, so at the time of death it will remember us. And the second thing is very practical. If we have any devotee friends, so at the time, if our family relatives are devotees, so I heard in a lecture, so they will chant the holy name and we will remember the Krishna.
Yes,
So it is
yes.
there because I heard in the lecture of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So the Bhakti Tirth Maharaj told the Radhanath Swami Maharaj at the time of his deathbed, you have to be there because you are there. So I'll remember about the Krishna.
Yes, yes, yes. Very, very nice. Very relevant points. Thank you. Okay, very
Can I answer,
nice.
Prabhuji?
Yes, yes, Param.
We should chant in the association of devotees,
Mm,
hearing from the self-realized souls,
mm,
sannyasis and Prabhupada disciples,
mm,
highly advanced or advanced devotees.
mm.
And whatever we hear, we should do chintan and manan on that,
Yes, yes,
always
yes.
thinking of it.
Yes, yes, yes. Very nice,
So
very nice.
somehow or the other way, we should always have this chintan and manan in our mind,
Mm,
and that will lead you to more remembrance of Krishna.
yes, yes. Yes, yes. Thank you, Param. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yes, we'll proceed now. Two more verses I have to cover. Okay. Okay. Now Krishna is emphasizing in the next verse that remembrance has to be practiced. Yes, like if we do devotional service, naturally, that as Yashraj Prabhu saying, reflex. So that will come. So if you took shelter of something throughout your life, so death is the most dangerous moment of life. So you will naturally take the protection of something which you took throughout your life. So that will happen in some way, like also association of devotees and all. So that will happen. But along with that, one has to also consciously try to practice remembrance. So that's what Krishna is pointing to in this next verse. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasana anyagamina
अभ्यास योग युक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना
paramam purusham divyam yati parthanuchintayan.
परम पुरुषम दिव्यम यान्ति पार्थानुचिन्तयन्.
He who meditates on me at the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. Yes, bro, you can read the two paragraphs first.
Yeah. In this word, Lord Krishna stressed the importance of remembering him. One memory of Krishna is revived by chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna. By this practice of chanting and hearing the sound vibration of Supreme Lord, one's ear, tongue, and mind are engaged. This mystic meditation is very easy to practice and it helps one attain the Supreme Lord. Purush means enjoyer. Although living entity belong to marginal energy of Supreme Lord, they are materially contamination. They are in material contamination. They think themselves enjoyer, but they are not the supreme enjoyer. Here it is clearly stated that the supreme enjoyer is the supreme personality of Godhead in his different manifestations and plenary expansions as Narayan, Vasudev, etc. The devotee can constantly think of the object of worship, the Supreme Lord, in any of his feature, Narayan, Krishna, Ram, etc. By chanting Hare Krishna, this practice will purify him at the end of his life. Due to his constant chanting, he will be transferred to the kingdom of God. Yoga practice is meditation on the Supreme within. Similarly, by chanting Super Soul within, similarly, by chanting Hare Krishna, one fixes his mind always on the Supreme Lord. The mind is fickle and therefore it is necessary to engage mind by force to think on Krishna. One example often given is that of the caterpillar that think of becoming a butterfly and so is transformed into a butterfly in the same life. Similarly, if we constantly think of Krishna, it is certain that at the end of our lives we shall have to same bodily constitution as Krishna.
Yeah. Yes. So Prabhupada is giving that encouragement that it is necessary to engage the mind by force to think of Krishna. Yeah, this whole sentence is important. Yeah. So this is also the okay. What is the verse? I'm not recollecting, but yeah, I try to find it out. Okay. So now, sorry. स्मर्तव्य सततं विष्णु नाम स्मर्तव्य जातचेत सर्व वेद निदेशात इति eva kinkara. So this is the all the essence of all the Vedic injunctions is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. And these two things are specific also. They are told like we should not forget Krishna. So many other remembrances may come because of our conditioned nature. So we should try to avoid them, and we should also try to consciously remember Krishna. Yes, so this remembrance, yes, it is spontaneous, but also it has to be consciously cultivated. So this is a extract from the Prabhupada's purport of NOA 8th verse. Yes, Pro, so you can read this.
In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravan.
Dasha,
This
Dasha.
text is small.
Shravana Dasha. Okay, I'll link this.
Shravan Dasha. The stage of hearing, by constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastime, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varnadas. Okay,
Dasha.
Varnadasha. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smarnavastha. The stage of remembering, recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smaran. At first, remember of Krishna may be interrupted by intervals, but later remembrance proceed uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expand and become constant, it's called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters in stage of samadhi or spiritual trance. After smaran desha or samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called Samprapti Dasha, the perfection of life.
Yeah.
NOI
So
8.
yeah, so this verse gives some pointers on how to cultivate smaran. So it's a systematic and scientific process. It's not again something very random or something. Yeah. And yeah, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Jaiva Dharma, and there are many other books written by our acharyas on how to cultivate this remembrance of Krishna. So first one consciously tries to recollect. So for one studies a pastime and he tries to recollect. Then slowly as he practices, it will naturally come. It will naturally come during the chanting and all. So that is there. And when in the life that happens, when one attains that stage where one is able to spontaneously remember, and naturally at the time of death also, he will spontaneously remember. So now, okay, of course, the main one of the important things is to practice remembrance, the mind has to be very pure. So first, if that's what, first is Shravana Dasha and Varana Dasha. So first, if one is able to chant the holy name attentively and all, then one can be a bit confident, and he will also be naturally inspired to cultivate remembrance. These things, when NOI discuss there, you will learn it, and also in NOD definitely you will remember. Yeah, these things will be discussed in some way depending on the teacher, during when Raganuga Bhakti is discussed, etc. Initial practice, one can start even though mind is not so pure or something, not so focused also, we can try, like, depending on different what one's uddipana or interest in bhakti is. Like, someone can remember kirtans, Vaishnava songs, shlokas, or the darshan, darshan of the deities, or remembering the lives of Vaishnava acharyas, or one can remember about services. So if one is naturally, if somebody is, if one is very attached to something, naturally he will remember. So now we are not attached to Krishna, so that's why we are not able to remember. But we have to endeavor, and slowly it will happen. Whatever it may take some time, or whatever may take more time, depends again on different devotees are at different stages. But we can start our endeavor from kirtan. We have to find out what we are attached, what attracts us in bhakti, and that we can remember. Yeah, like while taking bath, or while going to office or something, you can remember. Okay, now, yeah, and yeah, first let me discuss one more point. And again, direct remembrance and direct and conscious remembrance, first we should try, then unconscious, and eventually constant remembrance. Like, if you see in the previous verse, what Krishna told, Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. So while fighting, you remember me. Now that may be very difficult. So first we can take out some time and try to remember something. Like if you're going in train and you are alone and no, there is no devotee. So then you can try to recollect something. Uh, Recollect some points discussed you heard, or some kirtan you can sing for yourself, or whatever, like these kind of things. Then as one becomes more pure, and one also cultivates some remembrance, direct remembrance, consciously, focusedly, then this unconscious remembrance will come. Like, even when somebody is doing some mundane work also, naturally the remembrance of Krishna's pastimes, or Krishna's qualities, or the darshan of Krishna, these things will come naturally. But that is a very advanced stage. Like, we hear in the description of Bhagavatam that Yashoda Maya, though she is doing apparently a materialist, a worldly thing, churning butter and all, but she is singing Krishna's, about Krishna's pastimes and all. So that is a very advanced stage. But first we can try conscious thing. But yeah, we can see what we are interested in, and try that. Okay, Yashras, some question.
And Hare Krishna Prabhu, actually I forgot. Can I answer the one more thing in the previous question?
Yeah.
What is the remember? How can we remember at the time of death?
Yeah.
Actually, Prabhuji, I forgot one thing. I want to add one more thing. The thing is that the our endeavor is there, but at the last, the Krishna Kripa is important, because at the that Raghav Das Brahmachari's case, the circumstances is not in our hand. That come at any time. So it's all depends on Krishna Kripa also.
Yeah, yes, that factor also has to be kept in mind. That's why our acharyas have given the prayers and all, where they, so that will help us also to pray for Krishna. Yes, thank you. Yes, Sundari Subhadra Mataji also has told that point. Okay. Yes, now in the 9th verse, Krishna, now till now Krishna told, okay, remember me, remember me. So how to remember, and what kind of remembrance it should be, that Krishna will tell in this 9th verse. Again, since the context is not directly devotional, so Krishna is giving a description that is more suited to yogis, and this will slowly transition into the discussion on Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anor Aniyamsham Anusmaredya.
Pravim Puranam Anushasitaram Anor
Anusmaredya.
Yamsam Anusmaredya.
Sarvasya Dhatarmachintya Rupam Adityavarnam Tamasah Parastat.
सर्वस्य धातार अचिंत्य रूपम आदित्य वर्णम तमसः परस्तात्.
One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is maintainer of everything, who is inconceivable beyond all material conception, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Yeah, so this is the description of Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So Paramatma is the Supreme Lord with material potencies. If you say Prabhupada defines like this in Ishopnishad purport, in the yeah, where that Hiranmayana Patrana, either that verse or the next verse. So in one of the verses, Prabhupada gives this definition. Brahman means only the material potencies, but impersonal form. The impersonal form mainly, and impersonal qualities. And Paramatma means the personality there, but with material potencies. Material potencies means in relation to the material world. That he is the controller of the material world, he's the maintainer of the material world, like that. But Bhagavan means his spiritual potencies. Means he's a lover of devotees. He's the rasa. He's the reservoir of all rasa, like that. Okay, you can read the purport.
The process of thinking of Supreme is mentioned in this verse. There, therefore, most point is that he is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. This is very difficult. The process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy, is factually stated herein. First of all, the Lord is Purushaha, a person. We think of Purusha Ram and the person Krishna, and whether one think of Ram or of Krishna, what he think is described in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kavi, that is, he knows past, present, and future, and therefore knows everything. He is the oldest personality because he is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of him. He is also the supreme controller of the universe. He is the maintainer and instructor of humanity. He is the smaller than the smallest. The living entity is the 1/10,000 part of tip of hair, but the Lord is so inconceivably small that he enters into the heart of this par- partial. Therefore,
Particle.
he is so called smaller than the smallest as the supreme. He can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and the control him as the super soul. Although so small, he is still all pervading and is maintaining everything. By him, all this planetary system are
Sustain.
sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated there, here that the Supreme Lord, by his
Inconceivable energy.
inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planet and system of galaxies. The word achintya, inconceivable, is very significant
This connection.
in connection. The God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking, jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, achintya. Who can argue this point? He can prevent this material world and yet is beyond it. We cannot
Comprehend.
comprehend it. Even his material world, even this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So, how can we comprehend it and
What is
comprehend
beyond?
what
What
is
is beyond?
beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world and that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch. That which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent person avoiding useless argument and speculation should accept what is stated in scripture like Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the principle they set down. This will lead one to understanding.
Yeah. So this verse is basically a template for meditation for the yogis. And yes, Prabhupada spoke about the achintya. So God by definition has to be achintya. If God is conceivable by the human mind, then human mind becomes greater than God. So by definition, God will be inconceivable in some way or other. Like we saw that no, he walks but does not walk. So that all he sees but does not see. He is everywhere, but he's in the material world, but he's also in the Goloka. So that all, he's very near, but he's also very far. So we see that no, Ishopanishad, the different contradictions about the Lord and how these things are reconciled in the Lord, that is described. So that is there. Okay, next verse will continue tomorrow. Any questions? Anything else? Okay, so we discussed initially about the different Arjuna asked questions about the different terms: Brahma, Adhyatma, Adibhuta, Adidaiva, Adiyajna, and at the time of death, how the souls who are constantly engaged in remembering, in being conscious of the Lord, can remember Him at the time of death, can be conscious of Him also at the time of death. So that is the question. So Krishna answers them, and then uh, while answering the last question, Krishna tells they should remember Him. So then Krishna gives the principle of the general thing. What one remembers at the time of death, one attains it. And then how to cultivate that remembrance. So for that, one has to be, one should do his activities while remembering Krishna throughout his life. And for that, one should practice it. And in the last verse, Krishna gives a what kind of meditation a yogi can do on the Lord, throughout practice on the Lord, so that he will remember Him at the time of death. Yes, Yashas, bro.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Actually, my question is that when we are fit at right now, we don't know at the time of old age what will happen, but still it's very hard to remember the Krishna. So sometimes it's the doubt is arise. Is at the time of the share, can will we remember the Krishna or not? So how can we avoid that such kind of doubt? Because we believe that it's all about the mercy of Lord, but still the doubt is arises sometimes.
Yeah, so that's what first is to consider that it's not a binary thing.
Hmm.
It's not a 0-1 thing. Either you remember Krishna or you don't remember Krishna at all. It is, it's a, what to say, there is nuance. It's not just a 0-1 thing, but there is a, there is degrees of remembrance. You may remember Krishna, but you also may remember something else also. So that is there. So that's why, and that's why Krishna has assured already in the 6th chapter that yes, so if you have practiced it and you fail, so then it will continue. And we saw that real life incident. So, and yes, as you have mentioned that point also there, even if you forget to remember Krishna, Krishna remembers you. Your devotional service. Krishna remembers your devotional service and accordingly rewards it. Yes, if one has perfected it, then Krishna may take him to his abode. Or otherwise, he will provide the facility to continue further. First is like to have that, no, it's like a materialistic approach or a passionate approach to devotional service. Okay, either if this is done, then only we succeed, otherwise no success. So yeah, that is there. That I mean, sometimes thinking like that can inspire us, motivate us, but only if you are just fixed in that understanding, it can sometimes can create fear and problems like this.
Yes, Fuji. Thank you so much, Fuji.
Okay. Take
Hare
care.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, bro.
Prabhuji, today only actually the same thing came to my mind. Actually, near my house there is one gym, not gym, I mean some sport arena. So they play very loud music. So it is there since 2 years, but I never got agitated with that. I mean, it never bothered me. But since I have been initiated, I don't know, while cooking, my focus will always go on that, like why they are doing this, why they are doing this. And then this question comes because sometimes, we have this material conditioning, old previous conditioning. We have heard those songs, or so, sometimes while even having kirtan, that tune automatically sets to the tune that is running in the background. And then it comes to the mind like, oh Krishna, what is happening? And it was not happening previously, and why now these things are happening? And today it got answered, like, yes, we have to endeavor.
Yeah.
But yes, these things happen actually, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Sometimes we come in self doubt that Prabhuji asked now, so these doubts actually come.
Yeah. 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 It's not like, see, even our life, also our karma, like prarabdha karma, uh, even our like negative things, they may get activated at some points in life. And Krishna may allow it to happen, and so that we will grow in our devotional service in some way. Krishna may not always like purify it and nullify them. Krishna may allow us to go through them and help us to grow in devotional service while going through them. So it's not like, okay, purification once done means it will always be pure. It means, okay, we are
No,
not
no, I am
getting
not
tempted.
saying I am purified. It's that what, like, it was not happening previously, but now
Yeah,
it's triggering.
yeah. I mean, of
Yes.
course. So this is one fact, and we can also try to contemplate, like, okay, if we are getting tempted something which has not happened previously, so okay, have we taken some not so very good association, or we did not have good sadhana, and also that also we have to see. Yeah, I mean, we can try to analyze and see if we can rectify it. It can help. We can take guidance. That is also there, but it's a fact. It's not like, okay, means maybe in the initial few years or 10 years or 20, 15 years, we may not get some particular temptation, but after that we may face the temptation more. That may be because of our karma. It may not be like, okay, we have not practiced only, that's why you are facing it, or it may not be also like that. Okay, I hope it answers the question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I ask
Yes,
one question?
Prabhuji, thank you.
Yes, bro. Yes, bro.
Prabhuji, sometimes the fear of failure comes. Like fear of failures, how to overcome this fear of failures.
Yeah, first one
This is
thing
the
is,
most
yeah, like first one thing is to see Krishna consciousness as a binary thing. I mean, this is a general approach outside also, na? Either you make it or you lose it. So at least our Shastra is not like that. Uh, so Shastra is, okay, you have practiced Krishna consciousness to something. It's not like 0 or 100%. There is between thing. Like, okay, you have practiced 30%, 35%, 40%. So uh, so that way we can see how we can improve what we were and what we can become. So that approach is always more sustainable approach. Then, okay, see, okay, I am not there, I'm not there, I'm not there, but I have to be there. Always comparing with the 100% or the, so that kind of approach, it is sometimes motivating, definitely, but always having this kind of approach can create this fear of failure and all. And
and fear of failures. I was not remembering the Krishna. My fear of failure was like I'm doing Bhakti Shastri or I have studied Ishopanishad. And I tell somebody that I have studied Ishopanishad and could score this many marks I got and everything. The opposite devotee, he raises some questions that it has been already done long back. And he raises one small question and I'm not able to answer that moment, not in that frame of mind to reply that question. this failure of I was talking about this fear of
Acha,
failures.
acha,
Like
that
the
way
devotee,
also.
devotee thinks
Hmm.
devotee tells that you have done Bhakti Shastri, but you are not able to answer simple questions.
Acha, acha.
And sometimes
Yeah.
it may happen that most difficult questions also sometimes it comes. So
Mhm.
I was talking about this
Okay,
way,
okay,
not
okay. Okay,
remembrance of
okay.
Krishna.
Okay, okay, that way. Fine.
I hope
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
got my
Of course,
question.
like when I did my Bhakti Shastri also, I understood something, but not so much. So it depends, like, we have to do many times, then we may understand it. So yes, so as you told, no, we have to do Maranam and Chintan. So so that way, if you do, then you can. It will help. It will take time. And again, different devotees have different intellectual capacities of remembering things and analyzing things and understanding things. There is some dependence on that also. So yeah, there may be very
Okay.
advanced devotees, but they may not be able to answer many questions. So this thing is not the core of devotional advancement. The core of devotional advancement is our attraction to hearing and chanting about Krishna. But this thing, it will take some time to improve, and that will take time. Different devotees may take different times. So that's okay. I mean, that's not a very serious problem. So you can choose like what services, like someone may be very good in speaking to practicing devotees. He may be able to answer questions and all. And some may be able to motivate new people to take to Krishna consciousness. So different devotees will have different abilities, and also we have to choose which where we can serve better and all. So that way. Is it, does it help you? Like,
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. No problem.
yeah. Okay. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we will stop here. So thank you very much for your patient attention and participation. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.